Good morning, everyone. We're going to do these coastal rocks, beautiful light on the rocks. So just a nice pattern there of rocks going out to the ocean. All right, we want to get that pinky peachy color in the sky. So let's start with a wash of Aurelian yellow, and you can paint right over those rocks. They're so dark, and then some quinacridone rose. Just dropping that on, making sure we got enough on there. Let that come down. That'll give you a nice warm glow. All right, you can bring that right down. All right, if you want, you can go in with a towel here and just wipe out the color on the rocks. Not a big deal because I say they're really dark. All right, I'm going to go in with the ocean color. This is Windsor blue with a touch of red in it. And I'm painting around the surf. The surf is pounding behind these rocks. So we got the pink coming down, so I'm just reinforcing that wash. So I'm just painting around. There's a double surf there, hitting the rocks and pounding. So once you paint around it, let the wash come down, and then go in with a towel and just soften the edges. Push the surf in the direction you want it to go, so that you get back to the white of the paper, and that gives you, a sense of movement there, sense of water going up, pounding. All right, and there's the surf. This is the water in front of the rocks in the surf, so we want to just get that. This is basically flat. There's some nice waves that we'll put in a little while. Same color, Windsor blue with a touch of red. Push it towards the blue, obviously. Okay, just bring that right out to the edge of the surf. Right, the surf is wet here, so it's reflecting the sky. So I'm going in with a little bit of that rose color, and I'm painting up to the water. I'm leaving a little strip of white between them so we don't get a run-in with the blue. And now we're getting into the sand color. The sand is really a violet color, so it's blue with a little touch of rose. Okay, and there's all kinds of water moving back down in here. The surf is coming up and creating pools of water on the beach. So you just want to paint around those. All right, I'm going back with just a darker version of that Windsor blue and red to create the wave there. So just paint the wave in strong, and then as we go back, there's a couple of smaller waves up front here coming into where the surface coming in, and then just go back and soften that edge on the bottom so that it looks like it's curving. All right. All right, I'm painting the shadow of the waves, so I'm just dropping some violet, a very light violet color, cobalt blue with rose. Just very light. That's the shadow side of the wave. You get that nice. Okay, so there we have. You can paint this whole thing, the water, the sand, paint the whole thing, and just forget about the dark rocks, because the rocks are so dark they cover everything. This is a reflection of the rocks on the surf. Very dark, and you'll see that come together when we paint the rocks. That's the edge of the surf. It's wet, and it's picking up a reflection of those distant rocks. All right, I'm going to put the rocks in now They are very dark, ultramarine with quinacridone sienna, and then charge it with the rose color. A lot of rose in these rocks, picking up the light from the sky. All right, it's much darker than I have here. I'm going to pick up some. I just want to get the shape in. Notice this rock on the right here. I made it much higher. I didn't want to have the three looking about the same size, you know, the three humps there. So I made it much larger. All right, I added more quinacridone sienna and ultramarine blue here, so it's much darker. So I want to fill in this, go over my rose, go over that color that I had originally with some darker colors, darker tones. And just let it run. Let's see, I'm just reshaping some of that silhouette. Very dark. These are the rocks in front. Almost black, ultramarine, quinsienna, and rose. All right, just filling up that space. Adding some more darks here. Letting it run, you know, I'm just letting it run down. We're gonna squeegee over this. So I'm just creating those shapes. All right, let's get the front end. The front is much lighter because there's more light on it. But so I added some raw sienna to that, and I'm going to have the top of this front rock cut into the bottom of the rocks in the rear, so that it'll give you a much more sense of coming forward. You'll see how I do that when I add the light on the rocks. Just painting the big shape of that forward rock, those rocks that are right here in front of us. Same colors, ultramarine, quinsienna, and raw sienna in this one. A lot of raw sienna, it's very light. But we're going to put some darks in too, so. All right. Adding a few more darks here and there. Just want to get that sweep of the rocks. All right, I'm taking a straight razor here, and this is very careful. It's a beautiful technique to use. You don't want to cut into the paper here, so it's just a squeegee motion. All right, the pressure that you use will sort of dictate the amount of light you have on the rock. So the lighter you press, the more, the darker the rock is going to be. You'll be less light. The harder you press, you're going to create more light. So just go around and squeegee where you think the light is hitting, and you don't have to worry about doing the exact shape, because we're going to go in after we scrape this off and go in with some darks and create our own light shapes by painting negative shapes around the light. Okay, so here's the dark. I'm going in. And I'm painting the dark around the light. Again, it's very wet. I'm letting it come down. Very beautiful color. Yeah, I almost can't see it here on the video, but in person, the white paper is pushing through that and really giving it some beautiful light. All right, so you just go around and paint the darks where you want, leaving what light you want to be showing there. You can see how beautiful that is. You're using the texture of the paper, which gives you the beautiful rock texture. You know, it's just wonderful to use. It takes you a few times to get used to that, but once it's easy to master it. Once you do it several times, you really have a knack for it, and it's so much fun you almost overuse it sometimes. All right, this front rock, I'm using a credit card here because these shapes are much bigger. And you can see now that where I scraped that out, how that rock jumps in front of those back rocks. That's why, so I had this one go up a little higher than it is in the photo, because I wanted to really come forward. All right, so I'm going down with the credit card and just squeegeeing the light. It's still very wet, but you can see the texture of the paper there. It looks just like rock texture. It's beautiful. And we're going to do the same thing, just scrape our lights. And you can over scrape, you know, you can do much more than you think you're going to need, because now we're going to go back in with our darks again and really just push that shape right up. All right, so there's our darks. You need the dark to get the light, you know, the light really, to emphasize that light, you got to have the dark and vice versa. So I'm placing the dark right now, and I'm going to go in with a looser color, a little lighter in value here. See it? Just pull it down, keep shaping my rocks, keep shaping the dark shapes of the rocks. This is so much fun to do. You don't have to, you're not doing a portrait of the rocks, you're just using your own intuition here and shaping them, leaving the light where you want. Okay, we'll pull that right down. You can see it running. We want it to run, you know, we want some of this to run. It's much looser, and you get a beautiful glow once some of that rose color comes down. Okay, just study the rocks. You're not trying to do a portrait, you know, you just look at the photo to get some inspiration and sense of shapes that you want to pick up a shape here and there and use it. The front is very dark, so I'm filling in the dark, and you can see I'm charging it with cadmium red there. So it's very dark, but it's also very warm. Going back and painting these dark shapes. Crevices here and there. Look how beautiful that is. You know, that color is just so beautiful, that rose and that dark in the front. Now what I did here is I took a little rose on my brush and just hit the edges of the dark, and it gives you a sense that that stone is turning right there. So, all right. So you thought this was going to be hard, but this is really it's really easy to do. You just want to establish those big shapes, get those in there. I hope you enjoyed that. That was really a lot of fun. It's always wonderful to do these big dark shapes like this, you know. And we could put a little more shadow in there to sit that rock down. But that's essentially it. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and